The NFL buried Sam Darnold. Seattle turned him into a Super Bowl champion. Now every contender is racing to stop a team that believes its best football hasn't even arrived yet.
Let's get this shit started.
Cal's been looking at my notes, did some note taking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He offered you a stapler.
He keeps wanting to staple my 8 pages of notes together.
He's rolling in here with loose paper, and
and making you a little nervous.
yeah, because then we're gonna spill it, and then it's gonna be all over the floor, and he's gonna.
We don't want that.
Can't have rustling when we're looking at the NFC West.
This is
a truly classy division.
This is a classy division. It's we're starting in the West. I mean, we could have done this any kind of way. We're starting in the West, and we're going to do the NFC West and the AFC West on this particular show. Starting with the West because I think that's where the best football is being played this season. And I think the NFC West deserves a nod because they have the Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. So, Seahawks fans, you're not going to have to wait long on this program. Obviously, magical season last year. And a team that reminds me, and I was talking to Nolan about this earlier today, it reminded me of, I'm not saying we were as good or, our defense was as good, but just the sum of the parts and where they came from reminded me of our Philly Super Bowl team. I think we kind of were a little bit more off the map in the preseason. People expected the Seahawks to probably be a fringe playoff contender, but the thing I love about the Seahawks is they're really a team. It's a great football team. If you'd have asked people walking around on the street last August, who are the superstars on the Seahawks team? Maybe a ball knower would say, hey, Leonard Williams is pretty damn good. Or obviously JSN is an ascending talent. But maybe it's the fact that they're quarterbacked by Sam Darnold, a guy who has had no choice but to operate with humility in the league. He's been at a bunch of different stops. We've talked about him being basically left for dead. I mean, even when he was good in Minneapolis for the Vikings, he wasn't good enough, and they moved on, and you saw how that worked out. So, the whole team just seems to be good dudes, man, and the head coach has created a culture where it's about unselfishness and about the team first. I mean, repeating is one of the hardest things in sports, man, and that's what they're about to embark on, is this journey of trying to win 2 Super Bowls in a row in the NFL. I've gotten to experience it one time with that Eagles team. It is not easy. I always tell that story. We started 4-6. Got our shit together, ended up in the playoffs at the doorstep of the NFC Championship. We're this close. I expect this team to be a lot better than that 2018 Eagles team that I was on. So they believed in each other. And so they have the intangibles and the work ethic and the culture to put them back in the mix. Can they repeat? We'll see.
And the first Hard Knocks clip that has made the rounds is Mike McDonald saying, hey, there are a bunch of cameras around, but that's cool. I'm not a cool guy. I'm not going to try to be somebody I'm not.
Yeah, I'm goofy.
They're just cameras here,
Yeah.
And he's not going to get sped up. We gave him grief for taking down banners in the facility.
There was a rubber match last year. You end up with three games between the teams. The second matchup was as wacky an outcome as I've seen.
Two-pointer.
The first one, Darnold throws 4 picks or whatever it is. They almost beat him in a field goal type ball game down in LA. The third one is just a spectacular football game. They got an edge with special teams, the big plays.
And that game could have been played in LA had the second one gone
very
differently.
Easily. So it's these two teams are on a razor's edge. I don't care who LA adds. This is going to be the matchup that decides the West, in my opinion. Spoiler alert. It is hard to overstate what Sam Darnold winning the Super Bowl last year does for him mentally. We had him on the podcast, and he's been through this. He's been through coordinator changes, team changes, scenery changes. This is continuity for him. It's the same team, same-ish scheme, different coordinator. He can handle that. The one thing, we had the conversation with him on the podcast about how the position's mental. And with everything he's been through, you know, he talks to a sports psychiatrist or psychologist. I can't remember what the fuck the difference is. But, you know, the mental part of the position, like, he's got to feel like he's playing with house money. Like, he's got to feel like, okay, that monkey is off my back, like, and then some. I was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and I didn't even play well in the Super Bowl. Like, I didn't even play that well. Like, I'm sure there's a lot that he wants to do better this year. I mean, he played well last year. Don't get me wrong. He was fucking really good. But I know there are things that Sam Darnold thinks he can improve on, and that's scary to think about, that this offense could be better. You know, they paid JSN. They got Kupp. Torrey Horton's going to be healthy. And I think the Rashid Shaheed thing, I mean, everybody knew it was big, and it's a force multiplier because of special teams. The pressure packages are all intentional. It's so impressive to see his group play. Like, the D-line plays together. They play unselfish. They play a variety of coverages. You know, they're going to live in a lot of too high. The run stunts are executed well. The games and pass rush are executed well. Like, it's an orderly defense. To play as hard as they play and with as much emotion and physicality on the other thing. You know, he lost Boye Mafe, who got paid, man. And I like Mafe. Didn't have a ton of production last year, kind of get lost in the mix. I think if he is a feature rusher like he will be for Cincinnati, he's going to be very productive, but they won't miss him. And I don't mean that like pejoratively. I just think they have enough horses. So, you know, the people that left, I think they can replace those guys. And when you have a unicorn on your defense like Nick Emanwari, who is a unicorn, dude, gives you a lot of matchup flexibility. And you think about like having a big body in there that you don't have. They don't come out of nickel. They don't come out of dime. They play in their sub packaging
93% of the time.
So, you know, you don't really have to budge. You play some of these teams that want to get a little heavy and intimidate you out of nickel. Like, I don't need to do that. And so they're a group that brings the fight to you, and they play with a lot of discipline. It's hard not to love this team, or at the very least, respect the fuck out of this football team.
The NFL thought Sam Darnold was finished. A former first-round pick who entered the league carrying impossible expectations, only to watch opportunity after opportunity disappear. Every mistake became a headline. Every bad game became another reason for teams to move on.
The league didn't just question his talent. They questioned whether he could ever become the player everyone once believed he could be. But Seattle saw something different. They didn't see a failed prospect. They saw a quarterback who had survived the hardest part of the NFL, the mental battle. Because after years of changing systems, changing coaches, and constantly fighting for another chance, Darnold finally found the one thing every quarterback needs: stability. A team that believed in him. A culture built around him. And in this alternate NFL story, that belief created something nobody expected: a championship quarterback. But a quarterback alone doesn't win championships. The real question is, what happens when an entire team starts believing it was built for something bigger? The biggest surprise about Seattle wasn't one superstar. It was the entire machine. This was a team built on discipline, chemistry, and players willing to sacrifice personal attention for collective success. The Seahawks weren't the team everyone predicted before the season. They weren't the team with the loudest names. They were the team that kept winning. And that's what makes them dangerous. Because championships are rarely created by the teams chasing attention. They're created by teams that know exactly who they are. The offense became balanced. The defense became aggressive. And the locker room became a place where nobody cared who received the credit. That's the culture Mike Macdonald wanted to create. Not a collection of individuals. A football team. But repeating success in the NFL is where the real challenge begins. Because once you become the champion, every opponent treats you like the final boss. Winning one Super Bowl changes everything. Winning two? That's where legends are created. History shows how difficult it is. The target gets bigger. The pressure gets heavier. And every weakness becomes exposed. Seattle now enters a season where every team wants the same thing: knock them down. But inside the building, the mindset is different. They don't believe they are defending something they already achieved.
They believe they are chasing something they haven't reached yet.
That mentality changes everything. Because complacent champions disappear.
Hungry champions become dangerous.
And Seattle believes they still have another level. And the most frightening part for the rest of the NFC isn't the trophy.
It's the quarterback holding it. The biggest transformation wasn't physical. It was mental. Sam Darnold spent years hearing what he couldn't do.
Now he has proof of what he can do. That changes a quarterback. The pressure that once controlled him is gone. The questions disappeared.
The doubts disappeared. The criticism disappeared. And when a quarterback finally stops playing scared, the entire game changes. He isn't trying to prove he belongs anymore. He's trying to prove he can become even better. And that's the nightmare scenario for every defense. Because a confident quarterback is already dangerous. A confident quarterback who believes his best football hasn't arrived yet? That's when the NFL starts paying attention. But Seattle's biggest weapon might not even be their quarterback. It might be the defense nobody wants to face. Seattle's defense is built differently. It's not about one player chasing statistics. It's about 11 players moving as one. The defensive line creates pressure. The secondary creates confusion. The scheme forces quarterbacks to hesitate. And hesitation in the NFL is fatal. They don't need to win every matchup with talent alone. They win because they play connected football. The rotations, the disguises, the communication. Every detail matters. And that's why opponents aren't just preparing for Seattle's players. They're preparing for Seattle's identity. A team that refuses to beat itself. So now the entire NFL faces the same question. Was Seattle's championship a surprise? Or was it the beginning of something much bigger? The NFL buried Sam Darnold. Seattle rebuilt him. The league doubted this team. Seattle proved everyone wrong. And now the rest of the NFC has a problem. Because the most dangerous team isn't always the team with the biggest names. Sometimes it's the team that has already survived everything. The team that remembers being ignored. The team that knows exactly what it feels like to have nothing. Seattle isn't playing like a team protecting success. They're playing like a team still trying to earn respect. And that's why the next chapter could be the most dangerous one yet. Because champions are scary. But champions who still feel underestimated? Those are the teams that create dynasties.
Yo, mic check 1 to 2, -1, -2. Game over for this video, folks. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to stay in the huddle for more. This is NFL Madness, bringing the heat and signing out.